All right, I thought I'd just cut in here to whatever you were watching so you could look at my gorgeous face for a little bit. So I hadn't actually intended on filming anything today. I just quickly came out to have a look, see if I could diagnose what's going on here. So first things first, I've got no spark. I probably include a little thing here where I was using the camera to check for spark. So that's more than likely an immobilizer issue. That's what I've been tracking down, and I can't work out why I've got no spark. However, while I was checking for spark, I thought I'd throw the compression tester on here, and I've got bugger all compression. I tested cylinder 1 and cylinder 2. I threw a bit of oil in cylinder 2. Made no difference. So obviously I've got valves that are open. So whether that's the timing's been out, these are an interference engine. So whether I've bent all the intake valves and that's what the issue is, or whether the timing is just out so that the valves are opening when it's when the piston's on its way up, and I'm just not getting a full seal. I'm not 100% sure. So either way, I can't do anything with the timing with the engine in the car, so I have to drop the engine back out again. So that's basically it. Drop the engine back out on the ground, double check my shenanigans. Whether I've grenaded this engine or not, I won't know. Yeah, it's just how it goes sometimes. Not real happy about it, but at least I didn't get too far into bolting the engine back in before I found this. So, kind of lost my motivation for the day. Don't know if I'm going to start that now or not. Might be a next weekend job, I think. So sorry about that, guys. No starting the engine, no starting the roll cage or anything in the near future. We got to sort this out. Otherwise, I've got to source a new head or new valves or whatever. I don't know. We'll get on the ground. We'll see how bad it is. Thanks. I was going to leave this and move on. However, I really want to get this timing issue sorted because reasons. So, a bit unfortunate, but today I'm just going to put the coil pack back in, undo what we just did, drop the engine down and over so I've got enough room. So I'll show you here. So if you take this mount out of here, obviously, and the battery, then you drop the engine down just a little bit so that the big dick on here slides under there. You can go down, you can move it over that far, and that'll give me enough room to get in the front side over there. I was talking to another bloke actually who races these, and he said that he did the same thing. He said he's timed a bunch of these in the car, never had an issue. Timed one on the ground, and got the pin in the wrong hole. So that's probably what I've done by the looks of things. So my exhaust valves are just open that fraction when they shouldn't be. So sucks, but hopefully I can drop it down and push it over without having to remove too much stuff. And I mean, everything's already drained apart from the oil in the engine, so shouldn't be too big a deal. So let's do that before I lose my mind.
I like to be educated, but I'm so frustrated. Hello to my loneliness. I guess that ignorance is bliss. Take me back to
All right, so after about 15 minutes there, you can see that now we've got heaps of time to get in here and double check this timing. So it's still going to be visibility wise a pain because you sort of really need to look directly in, but I know approximately where the timing marks are. So, and me thinking ahead, obviously I cut that bottom timing cover so that I can get it out easily, and I also only put 3 bolts in this top timing cover because it doesn't need all of them. That's overkill. So I'll whip that off, and let's do it. I've also left the spark plugs out strategically so that I can turn the engine over a little bit easier. I was going to put them back in, but they don't need to be in right now. So let's get this off of here. All right, tried to set you up somewhere where you'll be out of the way, but let's see how we go. So I think there's one in here. And there's one in here. And then is there one down the bottom as well? There we go. Okay. So that's that off. Now, so timing hole is that fella there. I don't know if you can see that. I'll bring you in a little bit closer here. Hang on, this is going to get a bit rough. For anyone that wants to know, that's one hole there. The other hole is that one there. And depending on, thank you, gimbal. Depending on the style of engine, so this one here being the 180 horsepower engine, that mark there sits about here, and that mark there sits about here. But there's also another hole which is about there, which is the one that I had it in. So line those up when that mark is there and that mark is over here somewhere. You'll be able to look through this hole down the bottom here. I don't know if I went through this or not before. There's a hole. Can you see it? Can you see it? That one up. Right, there's a hole there. That black spot, just trust me, it's a hole. There's like a dent in the flywheel, which lines up with that hole when you've got your timing right. So I'm going to jump on this crank bolt here and just double check this alignment, and hopefully it's out enough that it's my compression issue, but not enough that I've bent all my exhaust valves. So wish me luck.
Rewind, take it out of cue. Innocence can be a young man's game. Signed up for the hall of shame. I wish I knew how much I missed.
I didn't even bring it back in here. I didn't even realize this when I did the timing belt on it initially. I put those black lines on there, and I didn't really think much about it, but what that mark was, this freaking gimbal, man. What that black mark was, that's actually marking the tooth where the belt first touched. So obviously, yeah, we got a problem. That needs to be way up there. I don't know why that didn't click to me when I retimed this engine, but it didn't. So let me just show you guys off here for a second, because you don't need to see this, because as soon as I release that belt, that cam's going to release and go ding once the valve springs release. So I'm going to screw around this for probably 20 minutes getting this right, and I'll bring you back in. All right, bit of a struggle, but we're back where we need to be. So drill bits and Allen keys lock the cam gears in as good as the $240 tools do. And my mark's back again, so first full engagement tooth, and then that one there. I mean, you know, it's close enough. I don't know how I marked that. That was like 3 years ago. I put those marks on there. Looking through the hole down the bottom, I can see the mark in the... I don't think you're going to be able to see it. Let me... Actually, I'm going to have to flip you over here a second. Just... Yeah, no, you're going to be able to see a bunch of darkness, but yeah, up in there, there's a mark on the flywheel, and it's in the right spot. I've just got to tension up the tensioner, because that line needs to be pointing there, I believe. So crank that around, nip it down, and then we can put the covers back on and slap this thing back in. So this one here was actually out a bit as well, because this pin here needs to line up with that, and the hole is there. So for some reason it was out a little bit. It was maybe 2 teeth over, and obviously this one here was miles out because of the error. Are you guys upside down? Why didn't you flip over? now that you're up the right way, yeah, so looking pretty much straight on the front of the engine, you want that is pretty well lined up with that. And then, you know, if you've got your drill bit, I think it's a 5mm drill bit, you push it in, and then you grab this with, you know, just some multi-grips, because it's under, the valves are under tension when you're doing this, and just turn it around a little bit until that drops, and you'll feel it drop in. Same thing with that bad boy there. There's absolutely no markings on this pulley to allow you to line it in any way, shape, or form. You just sort of have to guess that's the hole for it. But the problem is that hole is the right one, and there's another hole around about here somewhere, which is the wrong hole, which it will also drop into. And yeah, like I said, there's no real way. The only way of telling, I guess, is if you kind of look up underneath, you can sort of see that where that Allen key is shoved is about where the teeth start to fully engage. So I guess you could probably use that. Obviously, the pulley on the crank slides. It's not keyed in any way, so you just need to make sure that the cam is aligned. You can also be 180 degrees out with timing, but if you haven't dropped a belt completely, and if the belt is off, you don't touch any of this gear, you can't be 180 degrees out, because obviously you need to turn that a full rotation to be. No, you can't be 180 degrees out, because then it won't line up on the flywheel. You can only be the right way. So you can't be 180 degrees out. Ignore what I said. You can be 180 degrees out on other engines, but this one here you can't. You can only get it right if you line those 3 marks up. Water pump obviously doesn't matter. It doesn't index at all, and then you've just got 2 idlers. Same thing, don't index. So if you've got those 3 points right, you're pretty well right. It'll run a tooth or 2 out. Won't run well, but it will run, but it won't run how far out I had it, obviously. The reason I retimed this engine was because it was a little tiny bit out because of that weird tension, or I actually had, like, this here was loose. Like, I could actually, you know, that's tight. I could actually, like, there was a bit of flop in the belt, like it felt loose. So that was obviously my issue with it running poorly beforehand. Put the proper gates tension on it now. Let's hope. So this was an hour I really didn't have today, but anyway, we'll get this bolted in, get it back down on all 4 wheels so we can start ripping the interior out, because I've sold a few bits and pieces inside that I need to ship out because I need more money. So I'll whip this back in off camera because you've seen it done before, and then we'll try and start it. All right, we're kind of back into it today. So progress has been a bit slow last few weeks. Very demotivating with the car not running. I managed to get it running off camera. What was the problem? Don't know. But it's running now. It's got no exhaust on it, so it's not happy. It's not running well, but I got it running. So what I want to do now is put the rest of the car back together, put the subframe back on, steering, all that sort of thing. I'm not going to button it up too much at the front because there's still obviously a lot of work to be done here. But I just want to get it back down onto the ground so I can jump on that roll cage, because I want to use that one as a bit of a template, I guess, for this one. And I want that one gone. So I need to at least get the main hoop and the front bars bent up so that that other thing can get out of my way. Before I can get onto this, actually, that transmission is sold. I didn't want to sell it, but I need money, so it's sold. So I've got to crate it up and ship it away. And also, I'm sending both of my ECUs to a mate who wants to have a tinker around with them. He can play with the non-VVT ones. He wants to have a crack at the 180 ECUs. He's going to try and remove the immobilizer and turn them up a little bit. So I'll do that before we get into anything. Hopefully my motivation sticks with me. So anxiety's been kicking my ass the last few weeks, and so I'm just finding it hard to get into things. So hopefully once I get going, I'll stay on the path. Now, what actually was wrong with it, like I said, I don't know. I changed over the the coil pack off the spare engine. That did nothing. I flicked between the two ECUs. That did nothing. In the end, I actually swapped over everything from one car to the other. So I swapped the ECU, the matching BSI, which is like the body control module, and then the multifunction unit, which has the key chip reader in it, and also the steering column. I procrastinated. This has been, I haven't done anything on this car in probably 3 weeks. I've maybe put 2 hours into it. Like, it didn't take me long to diagnose or to get it running. It just was weeks and weeks of procrastination because I just didn't want to pull the whole BSI out. But anyway, I changed everything over from the other car and it ran. And I put everything back in from this car and it ran. So essentially I just unplugged it and plugged it back in. So, as you can tell, things have escalated. I pulled the old stuff, oh, not the old stuff, fans and crap that I had in the way out. I've slid the subframe under there. Then I remembered there's a few other things I needed to do. First of all, I need to reclaim that exhaust mount there, and also I needed to change out the big grommet that goes around the steering shaft. This is the one out of the other car, because the one out of here, when I dropped the subframe, it pulled the uni joint through and split it. So I wanted to remove the old one. There's a bit of underlay and carpet and stuff that sort of slips underneath it anyway. Yes, the hold open the door thing on this car has had it, so she requires the old screwdriver and the door trick. Yeah, this one here was had it, so I pulled it out and it kind of escalated to an interior strip. So I pulled the passenger seat the other day because the guy wanted the rails. Driver seat's out now. We're starting on pulling the interior because it sounded more fun than putting the subframe in. So I honestly don't know what I'm going to do now. I can't really film much at night in this pretty dark environment, so, and I don't want to do too much off camera because this is the fun part that people like to watch, like ripping shit like this out. Quite satisfying. So I might flip-flop back onto the subframe because these first few videos have been boring enough already. Might as well knock out the boring and then we'll get onto the fun gear. I'll stop torturing you with my voice, crappy personality, and mental health issues. So I'll get a jack under here and we'll lift this up into place, and all I need to do really is smash the 4 bolts into it, reconnect the exhaust hanger, reconnect the power steering lines. Is that it? Oh, and that roll stopper, that lower engine mount. And that's really all I need to do to get the subframe back in the car. So that's done. If it wasn't for the power steering lines, it would have been a hell of a lot simpler. I bent them up in moving them. I knew I was going to do that, but it is what it is. So they're not quite clipped back in yet. I gave up over it. And plus there's a little bit of coolant that dribbled out of that hose that I don't want to lay in. So I'll wait for that to dry up, then I can crawl under there and do it properly. But anyway, it's in. Spindles and coilovers can go back in. That's a nothing job. That takes no time at all. Done it 1,000 times. As I said, I'm probably going to leave the front of the engine still pulled apart because there's no need to put it back together again. I do need to take this intake manifold back off again because I had it off. I think I said I had it off to investigate wiring and plugs and that sort of thing and order them up. When I put it back on, I just slapped it back on quickly. So there's bolts missing and there's brackets that that aren't done up. So I need to button that back up again, just for my own peace of mind that when we do go to do the ECU, that everything is in order, and I need to work on the electronics and the tune, because, being an idiot, I need to make my life as simple as possible. So I'll get on to that. There's still, funnily enough, I've done this so many times in the past. There is still wiring that confuses me, like where this goes to. I have absolutely no idea. Like, does it go to the battery tray maybe? Does this thing have a vented battery tray? I don't think it does. Like it clips to something, and the only thing that's in here is the air box. And I checked the air box, it's got no plugs on it. There's another one over here that's a complete mystery. I have no idea what that one does. That one's air, kind of know that. These ones here, again, so I know they're not important. One of them will be a fog light, probably that one. Got a matching one here. That one's horn. Those two, things, whatever. Right. I think I'm out. I am tired, and I'm going to go and have some beers. I'll probably see you next weekend. All right, so it's bad hair day here at 113 Racing, also known as my hat's in the car, car's locked, keys are inside, whatever, deal with it. So, don't worry about this little guy. That's just a spare. I was picking this up yesterday, which is the reason I haven't got much done this weekend, apart from the usual reasons. He actually gave me a good point. He reminded me that these old school drive-by-wire throttle bodies are pretty sensitive to the ECU. I guess another way of explaining it, like voltages for opening and closing and tuning and that sort of thing is a learned thing in the ECU. I've mentioned this before. This era of car and being a high-performance car, they were subject to some pretty strict emissions restrictions. So the ECU was very, it liked to know everything and learn everything and dial everything into just perfect parameters, which is why they're subject to so many electronic emissions issues, because they're trying to hit like the exact number all the time. So these throttle bodies are pretty sensitive to tuning, and this throttle body was tuned to this ECU, and this ECU is tuned to the other car. So what I might try is I'm going to try just swapping over to the other throttle body, which is a learned thing. This ECU knows that throttle body. I'm also just going to throw the O2 sensors in because they need to go in anyway, and I'm just going to drag in one of the old exhausts and just glue it together, because that might make a difference. And I just want to try restarting this car, and just to make sure, like, I know it's got super old fuel in it, which has probably gummed the injectors, it's probably failed the plugs, it's probably not going to run properly anyway. But I just, for peace of mind, like, I wasn't going to bother with it, I was just going to send it. But if I can get it to run, well, if I get it to start and idle before I strip the wiring loom, strip the car and everything like that, it's just going to be one less thing that I need to chase down when it comes to trying to get it going again. I still haven't yet pulled the manifold off and double checked my shenanigans there. I don't have time to do that today. I really want to get the suspension fitted, but I'm just going to do this quickly. So, and I need to also get that in the back of the shop. So I'll do that. I also want to clean up this. I'm running out of room to put stuff. Like, I don't want that brake disc anyway. It's going in the bin. But I kind of want to keep that manifold for the time being, but I'm running out of shelf space. So I need to start throwing things in cars, and I need to get that thing out of here as well. I think I said that last weekend. It needs to happen. Whatever. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm procrastinating. We're busy. Let's go. Slight change of plans. I don't need to move that engine. Can stay where it is. I just need to do this really quickly. So we'll take the
plugs off of this throttle body. It's connected by 4 bolts. We can get it out of here real quick. They look to be 12s. I don't really remember. Oh, it's connected. That's not connected. Oh, that one's not even connected to it. Whatever. That one's not even tight. I wonder if that's an issue. That one's finger tight. Probably wasn't an issue. Might have been. But anyway. Makes for easy removal now.
How can we look the other way? Sun is out, but the sky is gray. What would happen if I took a chance? It's always hard at first glance. I don't wanna, but I know I gotta do it. The truth is hard to swallow. I think I'll chew it. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew how much I miss not knowing that we're all screwed when we play our roles and ignore the problems. I wish I knew.
Okay. Well, obviously that didn't work because why would it? So we'll turn our attention to putting this front end back together onto the ground. So these are the hubs that I stripped off of this car. The other ones have got drive shafts and whatnot in them. These have also got a lot less kilometers on them. And the wheel bearings are still nice and tight. So now, unfortunately, because of the way that I did this, I can't do a suspension install video, but this is a standard clamp type strut as opposed to the bolt-on type strut. Changing suspension is ridiculously easy. This one obviously is the other side. So ball joint goes into the bottom there. The bolt, this bolt here that runs through here, actually sits in the groove of the ball joint. So a matter of like loosening that bolt, spreading this won't free it. If I should take the bolt out, will free it. This one up here though is just a simple clamp. So loosen that bolt, spread this, will loosen it from the strut, and then you've got a tab here to bash it with a hammer. And then obviously your steering is on here. Wheel speed sensor bolts in there with a 10mm, and it picks up the end of the drive shaft, which I don't have here. On the end of the drive shaft is the ring, and then obviously that's your bearing there. I believe these are sold as a full unit. You can take out that retaining ring there and take the bearing out, the hub out of the, I guess this would be a knuckle because it turns, or you can just buy these complete units. I don't need new bearings or anything, so I'm just going to reinstall mine, as I said. Same thing with these control arms. These control arms are sold as complete units. You can't just buy a ball joint and you can buy upgraded bushers and ball joints, but the common aftermarket off-the-shelf ones is replace the entire arm, which is why this one's got odd arms on it. So that drops on there. That drops on there. Brakes bolt on here. This brake I've still got removed from when I installed the engine. strut drops in there, sway bar bolts onto the back of the coilover, and then obviously coilover has 3 bolts in the top. Very simple mounting, however, if they've been there for a while and not been removed, they can be quite difficult to get out. I've wailed on these with sledgehammers and stuff, trying to free them. They can be quite difficult. So these go in a specific way, and they're not to be confused. I believe that's the other side. Does it have a left-right on it? IO2, IO2. Hang on. Are they, in fact, identical? I believe they are. I believe they are identical. Because this spins. This is a pillow ball up here. Quite a stiff one. But it does turn. It turns in this little pillow ball here because when you steer, because it's pinched on here, this turns as well as the strut. If you don't have a pillow ball up here, or if your pillow ball is destroyed, especially on stock suspension, when you turn, you are actually loading and unloading the spring, and it would change your suspension mid-corner. So higher end suspension has obviously better quality bearings or pillow balls in the top here. So changing the top hat of your suspension, like this is just a universal camber plate, but actually changing this top part of your cheaper strut to a better quality one can improve mid-corner traction. Which way does that go? That way. So from memory, these don't actually push down far enough to get in. I probably should put the drive shaft in first, shouldn't I? Whatever, it's a later job. There we go. Yeah, there is a... That is not on these ones. I thought there was a little... Ah, there it is. There's a little bump on the back of these, and that actually sits in the groove here. So I'm guessing there should be a little grub screw in there, which I don't have. I've never actually seen them. The VCs I had on previous had a little bump in here, which actually sat in there and indexed. What it actually does is it just indexes where the sway bar mount picks up. So I know where that goes. And then I'm guessing because there's 2 holes there, I don't know how well you can see them, I'm guessing because there's 2 holes there, one's left, one's right. Because the sway bar mount wants to be kicked back just a little bit. So that's too far, so I need to, I can feel the 2 little screw holes there, so I'm guessing that screw hole there wants to be in line with that, so it needs to be, keep coming. About there. Let's sit there like that. I don't know why that won't go in. Hammer time. don't hit your ball joints with a hammer, people. It's not good for them. Probably should have put these the other way around, shouldn't I? Because then the XYZ label will be sticking to the front. I need to go up a lot. All right, then it's the 3 holes at the top. Uh-oh. Oh, lucky. That's actually really badly out of alignment. In case you're wondering, the issue that I'm having, I'll show you, is this is slightly out of alignment. You can tell it's not hammering in square, which is fair enough. I've only sort of tapped it in there. But you can see that I'm quite close on this side. Huge gap on this side, which means that the strut needs to that way. So I'm a bit worried about that. Now, these cars do have a real issue with those top strut mounts bending. A lot of the times when you pull the factory struts out, the top plate of the strut is like domed way over because the damper's been smashed into the middle of it. So that is a known issue. It's probably what's happened on this car. That is fully seated. Let me double check if it's in the right line. I can't see. Fantastic. Okay, I will check that later. I'm not doing anything up permanently here now anyway. I just want to get this assembled for the time being. Just loosely assembled so that I can get the car back down on the ground. A lot of this stuff's got to come apart anyway. So I have to do brakes. So the brakes have to come out again. I'm changing the sway bar links are being changed over. I've got some adjustable ones, so they're coming out anyway. Normally there's some adjustment needed to the body here because, as you can see, you probably can't see, but this the sway bar mount on the aftermarket suspension gets very, very, very close to the body. So that's actually a like a box chassis rail there. It does take a little bit of bending, and then you can sort of shave a little bit off the strut as well. But I will see if that needs to be done. It's a short-term fix anyway, because once I get my other subframe done, this whole arm is going to come out a little bit, maybe 10 mil at the bottom, which will give me some more clearance here, more camber adjustment, etc. So, okay, so apologies for the light. We're losing it quite quickly here in Sydney at the moment. So this is essentially what you would get when you start stripping down the suspension to do a change, except your brake would be mounted. Two ways of going about it from here. Now, your factory strut, there's not enough downward movement in this to get it out. It's very, very, very close. I have in the past used a long crowbar, like a crowbar, like a fencing bar, like a 6-foot long bar, and I've jammed it in here, ran it along there, and got someone to jump on the end of it and just flex the bushes out enough to get the struts out. If you're working by yourself, that's not really an option. So you either need to use spring compressors and compress your factory strut to get it out, or alternatively is to undo your brakes, tie them up, undo the 2 lower bolts in your control arm, bash them out, undo your hub nut, undo the top 3 bolts in the strut, and then take off your sway bar and your tie rod and just take this whole hub assembly out and then disassemble it on the bench is, generally speaking, the best option. Or alternatively, crack your bottom ball joint, take the hub out. You can still leave the drive shaft in. For that, you have to be careful though, because it will drop out and you'll lose some fluid. It'll pull just out of that seal and you'll lose fluid. But you can actually undo that and pop the knuckle out here just enough to get the strut out, and you can leave your brakes and everything attached. You can even do it with the sway bar and tie rod attached, but it makes it more difficult. I mean, they're not too bad to get undone, generally speaking. It's just a matter of undoing the bolt and smacking on the side with a hammer until it loosens. If you are going to hit these things, I would suggest replacing them. But if you leave the bolt on and hit the bolt, don't hit the end of the these ball joints at all, because you'll mushroom that thread. You'll never get a new nut on it. Being nylock nuts too, once you've hit them with a hammer, generally best to replace them. Tie rod ends aren't too expensive. Sway bar links are quite hard to come by now, so you probably really want to preserve them. I've never had too much drama getting those off though, but I don't live in a rusty place, so if you are doing it, hopefully that helps, because yeah, especially if you're in like a rusty area like, you know, the UK or whatever, the strut will be seized in here and you will really struggle to get it out. Here in Australia, I've done it a bunch of times, and most of the time it's not too bad. It's just a matter of loosening that bottom bolt, and then you can hit here and also here. There's a little plastic cover that bolts on here that covers the bottom of the strut for whatever reason. That's also a good place to hit to release them. So I've always got them out, but I have struggled in the past, and taking them out and applying a bit of heat probably would be beneficial. But anyway, that's this side very loosely assembled. I'm going to put the brake line back on this and bolt the brake caliper back on, just so it's out of my way for future. I'm going to do the other side, and then I'm going to put the car back down the ground, and I'm not going to look at it again for another week because I'm about done. I'll do that off camera, drop the car back down, and I'll see you then.